Bonjour and bienvenue, Café de Etienne. Well, for those of you who don't speak French, welcome to another exciting edition of Coffee with Stephen. So, this week's blog is entitled Vous, Etes, Macron. This has to do with the French election that happened a couple of weeks ago. Originally, I wanted to talk about it last week, but since the election fell on a Sunday, I was not 100% convinced that Macron was in fact going to win. Now, while you may not necessarily have any deep seated personal interest in what happens in Paris, the fact of the matter is that it actually did have some global implications, specifically because of the incumbent President Macron in France and who his challenger was, Marine Le Pen. Now, Le Pen's party, the National Front Party, has been analogized to being very similar to Donald Trump. I don't actually agree with that assessment. Um, eh, Donald Trump has been accused of being a racist and a xenophobe, and I think that's a problematic assessment. He was definitely focused on the idea of building up America as a focal point, as opposed to ensuring you know, the capabilities of other countries, or to be more specific, allowing other countries to freeload on America's largesse. With Le Pen, it's not necessarily the case. Um, I think that there is definitely a deep seated racial animosity, or what possibly would be construed as a French superiority within her party. Now, this is directly in contrast to President Macron. President Macron may very well harbor racist beliefs. I have absolutely no idea. I suspect he probably doesn't. But his party, and more specifically, he has been without question fundamentally European oriented. And this created a direct conflict, more specifically as it related to Russia. Marie Le Pen has been very, what's the word I can use? Complimentary of Vladimir Putin in the past, and has been somewhat muted on her response to his invasion of the Ukraine. Had she actually taken the presidency, it probably would have spelled the end of the European Union. And a lot of companies, as well as governments, that have effectively established themselves based on the idea of a continual economic partnership within Europe, could have theoretically come to an end. That did not happen. In fact, she was fairly trounced when it came to the actual general election. The way that they do it in France, you have an initial election, which is then followed up by a square off between the two larger vote getters. And her position to Macron after the first round of elections suggested that the two were actually pretty close. But in the final analysis, there was almost a 20-point spread between the two. In any event, the idea that individual citizens are ready to completely cast out the international order, whether it's citizens in France or potentially even citizens in the United States, remains to be seen. Anyways, read the blog. You completely disagree with it. That's perfectly acceptable too. We'll probably be talking about more domestic issues next week. In any event, train constantly, train consistently, train repetitively, and train with purpose. Above all else, stay safe and au revoir.